Yeah. I mean, so we were talking about 6 a.m. Group, which is like easily one of the most prolific collectives, brands, lifestyle brands in Los Angeles, and your involvement with it it's your collective.
Yeah, correct. I started this as a passion hobby
Right.
11 years ago. First moving to Los Angeles and kind of just, to wanting to contribute and create a platform and really to get myself out there. So that was really the original intent, and was coming to just do our part to bring awareness to the electronic music scene in general, because that was the time when I was really, really into it and just, really wanted to do whatever I could to just spread the good music.
The good word and the good music,
yeah, exactly.
11 years ago, man, that's some time. That's putting in the time and putting in the just trial and error, I would assume, because I can't imagine what the scene was like 11 years ago compared to what it is today.
Yeah, during that time in the mid-2000s, I think there was like a pretty big explosion as far as like Monster Massive, that was still very prolific. EDC was still in Los Angeles. I mean, Nocturnal, all the big festivals were actually happening right in the city. There were so many raves happening. I mean, even the club scene as well, too. And that's when you can see so many artists coming through. And I really got in during that peak, during that era. And, being the newcomer then, it's really, like I just mentioned earlier, it wasn't really anything special that we did. It's just a matter of being consistent and doing our part over time. And I think, when you go in with that approach and that mindset, you create your own luck over time. So that's really what's kind of happening now. We're, very blessed to have a good team to keep it going, and hopefully we'll be able to sustain this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 11 years in, you guys have some of the great parties in LA, and I just want to touch on the mission statement that I saw from 6 a.m. And those of you that are listening, I want you to really kind of to feel what the mission statement is. And it reads: to nurture every facet of the electronic music scene with quality content, events, and services to those who are willing to put in the work to help the scene grow. That's huge to me.
Yeah.
To just even the last part, to put in the work to help the scene grow, because I think that is something that, I mean, I saw the Grounded clip that you guys made about the scene being a community of like-minded individuals who want to help make our music expand and give it life more than just going to parties and attending and getting fucked up and going to sleep.
Right, exactly. And the whole idea is to kind of humanize our scene, right? I think, beyond the music, beyond the parties, there are real individuals behind it that make up this community. And, it's really through that purpose and intent, is to be able to give back. Being that I've been in the scene for 13 years, 16 has been around for 11, like you mentioned, trial and error. We're just really trying to give a deeper perspective on sort of our own journey so that those who are either starting or on their own path can learn something from us as well. I remember in mid-2000s coming up, I was looking for answers and guidance and all these things. And I mean, it's not like you can go online and Google like how do you
how to throw a party,
how to throw a party, how do you do all these things and how to buy talent. And just there was really no guidance unless you were like part of a crew or part of a group that was doing things. It was just and for us it's just, hey, why not share this information, right? For me, I think it's not it's no secret, and I think the more information that we're able to share, and I guess the perspective that we're able to give to this new era of generation, I think we can help reshape the foundation moving forward. There's just so much bashing and complaining about our era, the one that's coming before us through social media, all these things, and I'm thinking, well, who are the big brothers and the big sisters that were above us? Like, you're complaining about what's happening now, but you had the chance to actually shape and teach us these things, but none of that was ever available. And it's no one's fault. I mean, everyone was trying to figure shit out.
You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Right, I can cuss. Right, perfect. So everyone was figuring out their own shit. Like, dude, how do you do this? How what is this? It's big, but how do you make it sustain? All these things, and everyone was kind of just going for themselves and really kind of seeking out for their own interest.
And you're saying this was when you guys started?
Initially?
It was a little cutthroat compared to...
Yes. For sure. It was definitely like that. And that's why it took me so long to just, hey, you know what, why don't I just create something myself? Because
absolutely.
Even when I was reaching out to people, groups, I was being ignored as well. It happens. So, now that 11 years later, reflecting back, it's just about giving back into the community, because there are literally, I'm sure today, a 19-year-old kid wakes up and goes, you know what, I am going to be that DJ. I'm like, all right, cool. Do you realize what you just committed yourself to? Right.
Yeah, the work, the actual putting in the work to get to the bigger picture.
I mean, not just the work, but like the mental process, the journey. I mean, everything, rejection, failure, from passion to just being defeated. I mean, this whole thing is, it's tough.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so when you guys started, and it sounds like, again, it was a little more cutthroat. I'm not really too familiar with how the scene was in LA specifically. Were you guys based out of here, and you guys started everything here?
Yeah. 6 a.m. I mean, although the idea started in San Diego, I mean, I only lived there for a year, and then eventually I moved to LA, and that's when I really pushed it through. And it was just, nobody was willing to help each other out. Everybody was being very territorial. And,
that seems kind of strange, because I feel like with our community and the music that we're pushing, it's always, even with like the rave scene back in the day, it was always plur. It was always pushing to love one another, and at some point they were kind of the outcasts, because the ravers were seen as druggies. They were seen as people who are misfits and stuff like that. So it's not shocking, but it's almost like saddening to see that for someone who was trying to start something to help and contribute to the community back then, you were being like hit with a lot of like fight back.
It's just, I mean, it's very typical, right? New kid on the block, new brand. Who are you?
Earn your stripes.
Right, exactly. Earn your stripes and all these things. And maybe, perhaps when we first got in, we were more involved in the club culture.
Okay.
And, club culture back in the day, I mean, even today, it's, it's very business oriented.
Yeah,
let's
totally.
just put it that way.
Yeah.
And
it's a nice way of putting
it. Right. But, it wasn't easy, but I think what I later figured out, breaking through and getting our opportunities was being able to provide value for others.
Absolutely.
Right? So the way that you kind of break through the ice and break through the conversation, instead of, hey, book me for a gig, it's like, hey, I got 5 friends that's interested in your event tonight. Do you guys have a discount list or like a guest list or anything like that? I'm bringing friends over.
Yeah.
That alone breaks the conversation, right? And so that was sort of my learning curve as far as being able to kind of work the system in a way. And like you hear so much about business entrepreneurs, it's about giving value to people
in everything.
The moment you give value to others, their walls automatically break down. So
absolutely.
that was one lesson that I totally learned, the trial and errors, right? Of how to just get their attention, how to get your opportunities and get that door open.
Yeah, and it started the brand as 6 a.m. group, and you guys initially started in the club scene. So were you DJing at all, or was you were curating and promoting?
I wanted to DJ, and that was really kind of like the selfish intention. Like originally was to kind of have an affiliated brand with the DJ name, but ultimately, I realized in order to kind of get the attention of these big promoters or these clubs was to just be a sub promoter. That was your way of kind of starting a dialogue, right? Getting to know them. And eventually, once you kind of earned your stripes and, you have proven yourself in a way, right, where they're open to give you opportunities. And, it was kind of my way of getting myself into the door.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was really the main thing. For me, was just breaking through the door. And I did it through DMs and, I talk about it today. A lot of people hit us up through DMs. I go, this doesn't work because it didn't work for me. Like, I sent 2 years worth of DMs,
Same. We were hitting people up when we first started 900 Block. It was literally me and my partner reaching out to because again, we didn't know anything about the music scene. We weren't house music aficionados. We weren't promoters. We were literally people from Glendale that grew up here, and now we kind of wanted to dip our feet in something that we were a little unaware of. So we had the knowledge to know to reach out to people that even had a little bit more knowledge than us. And thankfully we reached out to the right people who were willing to give us the advice and to kind of help us steer ourselves in the right direction to figure out our own brand.
For sure. And it's not to say that the people in my era weren't helpful at all. It's just it just wasn't as available. And you were lucky enough to go, to have, I guess, a mentor or some sort of a guidance. That's really awesome.
Yeah, it's been super helpful. And again, but at what point was the difference maker for you? Because you said like how it was back then from 2011 when you first came in. At like what point was it that you were able to like understand yourself as a brand and the direction you guys wanted to go, your sound, your vision, the mission statement, or has that been something that's just always?
It's been kind of like a work in progress.
Yeah,
Like a work in process. Like you figure out, as you go along. And I'll be honest. When I first started the 6 a.m. brand, I was 22. It was about the after party.
Right.
The bars open at 6, liquor stores open. Let's go to the after
Right.
party. I'm 35 now. It's been 13 years. 6 a.m. now to me is I'm waking up 6:30, going to the gym, reading my daily Stoic book. To just being all zen and just trying to like get the day ready and whatnot. So it's that balance that, and so through all this experience and through growing, and going through life in general, like the brand has kind of evolved with sort of my personality and our overall company belief that we, are trying to portray out.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like as you grow, the company grows, because if you have a brand that you're trying to nurture and you're trying to take care and you want to, it's obviously a representation of yourself and your team and whoever it is that you guys are putting on as far as artists. So it sounds like as you grow, it grows. As your tastes mature, you're able to kind of steer your brand towards the bigger vision that you
For sure. And to answer your question, like when is that breakthrough year, right? I think we talked about it earlier. I can't really pinpoint it,
right?
Because it's just been 11 years. It's just we're doing things. Sure, we started doing our own parties. Some were good, some were bad.
Yeah.
We have wins and losses, and we still do to this day.
Yeah.
Not all parties are good, and not all parties are going to be great, but it's about that consistency. And so I think if anything, it was really after our like 8th or 9th year, really
that's crazy, man.
that people are like, hey, this brand's been it's been around for a long time. I see it on every flyer.
It's starting to open up,
It's starting, it's on every flyer because we were literally promoting, every event that we believe in, right? And if it was weekly, whether it's clinic, Wednesdays, Monday night social, if anybody remembers, at some point we're even doing Focus Tuesday. So that's already Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on promotions. Then you have Thursday one-offs, Friday. We were just really just trying to help integrating ourselves and doing our part to help spread the word as well. And through that, we learned a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I can imagine.
And then from there, we started doing our own parties. And it wasn't really just until maybe like 2.5 years ago when we started doing our own like underground parties.
No shit.
Yeah, it's only been 3 years.
Has it really?
Actually, the work event brand has been around for 5 years, but it's been like, choppy here and there. We've been doing clubs and whatnot, and it wasn't really, I would say 4 years ago, there you go, that we started to do it with Incognito.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was only just like maybe 3 or 4 times a year. And it wasn't until like 2.5 years ago that we started to do it. Like, we saw the formula, we saw that it works, it's, we saw the timing to be right as well. And kind of it's been everything that we worked on and more has kind of led us to that moment, and it was kind of our way of just saying, hey, let's just go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. The passion that you guys had behind it is, that alone is a reason why you were able to keep it sustaining until that 8th year. I mean, me and my collective, we've been in the industry for 4 years, and obviously there's high points, low points. This day and age, I mean, I've said it so many times before that it's not that it's oversaturated, but there is just so much going on in LA. It's hard to be a brand that stands out, and where parties now are incorporating way more into their parties than just the music and the dancing. It's like it's something that people it's hard. It's almost hard to stay consistent because you feel defeated a lot.
Right, and to that point, I think it's a matter of mindset, right?
Yeah.
I think when you talk about these challenges and struggles, I mean, everybody knows that it's hard, but you have to love the process, right? What do you expect? Like to come into this oversaturated industry where there's already tons of brands, tons of things going on, and you expect to kind of just blow up, right? I mean, you have to kind of go in and be like, I'm going to be okay with doing my thing and perhaps not even getting any recognition for 5 years, right? We're doing our thing, but do it because you enjoy it. Do it because you like the work, not because of any other motive or any other, recognition that you want to get, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's arts and creatives, and it needs to come from the heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's really that fuel, that engine that keeps everything going.
Yeah, we started, I mean, me initially, again, not being a part of the music industry at all, when we came in, we had a different vision and we had a different heart behind what we were doing than we do now. It did start as like, hey, we want to start our own business, we want to start our own brand and start our own company, and it was really about trying to create something. We had Insomniac as the God among men kind of thing. And it really was like we were doing that, and then we got to a point where like, hey, this isn't going to work for us. And if we didn't shift at that time, we would have been done. And so we decided to, hey, make it a creative project, passion project, really care about the lifestyle brand, really care about the what we're contributing to the community. And I think that is really going to ultimately help your brand continue.
For sure, and I think you bring up a good point. It's about evolving, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not going to end something, figure out ways to evolve. That's part of sustaining the journey is what I like to call it, right? It's being able to adapt and evolve, understand that there's timing and patience, right? Sometimes nothing may happen for 10 months because there's just so much going on. Maybe it's not, the booking options aren't ready, right? There's no need to rush. And I think as long as you understand that this is something you want to do and you have a vision and patience, I mean, that's really the key goal here.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard everything from, oh, you guys are going to start seeing results after 4 years, after 5 years, 6, 7 years. I've heard everything from your parties are going to go from 200 to 300 people on a consistent basis, and then there's no 400 or 500 person party. It's just going to go from 200, 300 to 1,000. So the messages that we're getting from the community is everyone's vision is their own. And everyone's direction and everyone's idea of what their own success is never going to be the same.
Yeah, for sure. What baffles me a little bit, I mean, it's good to set goals, for sure. But, when I hear, like, oh, in 3 years I need to do this or I need to hit this, it's like, I interviewed John Digweed last year, and he said something that really, really stuck to me, because I asked about that. And he goes, for some reason, I never really thought of this as, like, having an end goal or
final product.
By a certain age, I'm going to do this and that. For him, he's like, I love this. Yeah. I love this since he was 11. There was, if you love it, if you truly love it, this should be part of your everyday life.
Yeah, there's no end goal.
Right.
Yeah.
It's incorporated into everything you do, and so it ends when, when the passion or whatever dies, and that then you should ask yourself why you're doing
it in the first place. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people kind of burn themselves out because they really do put that passion, and they give the 110%, which I respect, with whether it's a DJ or a promoter or a club owner or whatever it is. They put in the 110%, and then they just seem to be looking for something that's not going to come. And that's what a lot of people that I've seen come and go don't understand. That, again, with what you were saying and what John Digweed was saying, is that there is no final product. It's just the ever-evolving brand. It's the ever-evolving maturity of you and what you're trying to push and the message.
This imaginary timeline that people put on themselves, it's it's a problem as well. It's where a lot of people then come up with excuses for themselves and X, Y, that's something.
This is the reason why.
Right, and I think this is why it's important for anyone that's really in this, especially those that are like in your 20s, to really start asking why and like constantly ask yourself why, because at some point you're going to have to be able to answer that because that is the X factor of whether you hang it up or you continue to move forward.
Yeah. Like, again, that seems like that's a breaking point where you can either evolve or you can go extinct.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Exactly, 100%.
Yeah. There's very key moments, I feel like, in every culture, in every movement that someone and a collective and a group of people that form a community get to. And if they're not able to, I mean, it's not so much get with the times, but if they're not able to kind of shift how they should shift, it's just they're going to get eaten alive.
100%.
Yeah. And you were telling me recently that you believe there's like 3 E's plaguing our industry.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Like 3 E's, not ecstasy pills.
No, not ecstasy.
It's not super. Yeah, it's not super euros coming in. But for me, it's actually not the E's. It's not the drugs. It's an internal thing, and I like to call it ego. I like to call it entitlement, and I like to call it excuses. And I think.
Break those down for me.
Yeah, so why it's plaguing the industry. Ego is the reason why people can't work together. Ego is the reason why industry peers can't be happy for others. Right. It's pure ego. Yeah. Ego is the reason why you're impatient. Yeah. On their journey. Why do you have to be a headliner in 5 years? Like if you really love the art, I mean, just do it. And if it happens, great. Do the work. That should be the approach over anything else. So there's that, right? And it's not to say, and I say all this and I explain all this because I have gone through it. I have been that egotistic asshole myself, right? And being aware of it and just saying, things never worked out when egos clash in general.
I mean, that's proven through history that egos are always going to clash, and there might be one winner sometimes, but someone's always going to lose. Right. So why not everybody work on having everybody win.
Do you know what suffers the most when ego clashes? The overall community.
Yeah.
Because then what could have been an amazing project or something, because due to ego, it never happens.
Yeah.
It never hits the community. The contribution doesn't get there, and it's just, I mean,
Yeah.
it comes in different forms, really, right? I mean, as you're an aspiring artist, ego's there.
Yeah,
As you're
absolutely.
going through your journey, ego's there, and as you make it to the top, boy, you know, you better really check your ego, you know, so that's the thing, you know, and you hear about stories about promoters or, you know, club DJs or club owners just having, you know, extreme massive ego. They're just not good people.
Yeah.
And it's just something that we want to really bring awareness. Like, we're in this industry where there's a lot of ego.
Yeah.
Let's be aware, first of all, that we're not curing Alzheimer's and cancers, right?
It's
So
nothing
relax.
spectacular. Yeah.
So relax, right? I mean, just check yourself.
Yeah, check yourself for sure.
Number 2 is entitlement.
Yeah.
And entitlement is the sense or feeling that you're better than others. Whether it's a techno-elitist who's like, yeah, I've known Dax J before, you know, he was super Dax J, you know, or like, oh, you know, this is my favorite. I used to work a lot of doors for like other festivals and events. Sure. Oh man, when they are when their name's not on the guest list, it's just like, whoa.
Oh yeah, I mean that ties along with ego, because a lot of people walk up and, let's say you're with a group of people and they're like, hey, well I got it, I'm on the list. You get up and you kind of get checked. It hurts your ego.
It's a sense of entitlement too.
Absolutely.
Like, do you know who I am?
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure you heard that a lot. Do you know who I am? That
For
seems
sure.
like that is like the most ridiculous statement I think I've ever heard. Is do you know who I am?
It's great, you know. I think that entitled attitude, you know, of like, even for artists and DJs and club promoters, they have to understand this. I mean, what you're asking out of life through what you're aiming for, to either be a touring DJ or be a full-time promoter or just be involved in the music and creative world and live the life that you want. I mean, you're asking to be the top 1% of life, to live that.
Right.
I mean, I like to pull things to the extreme where there are starving kids all over the world. People can't afford a roof over their head and water, and you want to be a what, right? So let's just tie everything into that extreme and just like
just center yourself.
Just
check
center yourself,
yeah.
right, and realize that,
Yeah.
right? And it's not to downplay our industry and our artwork and all that. It's just bring a sense of awareness so that you can kind of approach this with a little bit less ego, with a little bit more gratitude, and not be entitled.
Yeah.
Number 3 is excuses, and I think excuses is what breeds haters, right?
Okay.
At the end of the day, you know, people like to come up with excuses of why this won't work or that won't work, or you know, a lot of people don't really look from within themselves. They like to blame external factors, you know, whatever it is, right? You know, Charlotte DeWitt's tied to this, so that's why she made it. You know,
right.
You know, he knows this. You know, do you know that? You know, it's 6am is a big brand, so therefore
they make themselves the victim.
Right.
Like, hey, this is why they got to that, because they had the advantage that, you know, I don't have, so I'm gonna.
Exactly, and you know, it's just it's so bad. You know, when are people gonna just start holding themselves accountable? And I think especially in this industry, it's tough. But you know, but that's why now that we kind of have gained the attention of our platform, that we're pushing all these things here and there. I mean, we post it through our social media to kind of just bring that awareness of, you know, you can do anything you can. Like, I mean, it sounds cliche, but once you start taking accountability for yourself, I mean, a lot of these answers reveal
themselves,
whether or not this path is right for you. Right. A lot of times, they're having a hard time facing that truth.
Yeah.
That's
so
all.
Have you seen? So from 11 years ago, 13 years ago, the ego, the excuses, the entitlement. Has there been? I feel like because the shift in the popularity of our industry and our music. It's almost breeding it sometimes, because people now, everybody wants to be a famous, world famous DJ, whereas back in the day it might have not been the case. So has ego and entitlement and excuses evolved over the years, or has it kind of been relatively consistent?
I mean, I think whenever an industry expands the way that we're seeing, or like the growth that we're seeing with electronic music on a global level, I mean, it's just, there's ego and entitlement excuses in sports. In other industries. So I think, has it evolved? I don't want to say evolved, but I just want to say that, you know, with anything that expands and grows into this, I mean, you're just going to have a plethora of personalities coming in. And there are always going to be good people with right intentions and those with bad intentions and bad approach and bad mindset. You know, and to me, having observed, I guess, the last 11 years, it's true and consistent that at the end of the day, it's those that are doing the right things with the best intention. They tend to sustain, or they tend to just have a better reputation moving forward. And I think by just having a little bit of better reputation, you get more opportunities.
Yeah.
Just doing the right thing and just not being that.
I mean, sometimes you got to stroke other people's egos. Like if you're doing the right thing and if you have good intentions, the people that are meeting you with excuses, with entitlement, with ego, there's nothing for them to hit. It's just like, it's something like it bounces off. Like, sure, you have an ego, I get it, but I'm doing this for the community. There's only so much that they're going to really come after you, and they're going to fight you, and they're going to really try to not make it work. Because at the end of the day, they're going to end up looking like assholes.
Right, for sure, 100%. And it's always one thing that I remind my team, on a Monday morning after we're done with our events. You know, it's always like, hey, guys, good job, pat on the back, but let's remember, let's stay focused, and let's continue to work, because at any moment, through external factors beyond our control, we could be done too. So just being aware of that really kind of just keeps you in check.
I think that's super important. Again, in any industry, any facet of your life, you're going to reach milestones, ideally, hopefully for everybody. If everybody just good intentions, you're putting your work, you're putting in the work, you're putting your head down, you're not boasting, you're not really trying to do it for show. That's going to in turn, like, you have to be able to keep telling yourself, like, hey, why am I in this? Well, what is the reason behind what I'm trying to do and the community I'm trying to build, and where is this going? Because if you just keep getting bigger and bigger and you don't check yourself, at some point you're going to be the guy that everyone's looking at like, yo, chill the fuck out.
For sure. I think back to, to your question, I guess when's the turning point? I would, then pinpoint back to maybe 3 years ago. I think that's when we shifted, where up until 3 years ago, we did everything pretty selfishly, and what I meant was it was all about us. It was all about our brand, all that stuff. And I think some major stuff happened that almost took out the company. I don't want to really mention, but we had a festival in Guam that took us through some rough times, and it was during then that we questioned our why. And it was then that's when I said, you know what, I think it's time for us to stop being so selfish and look what it has brought us.
Well, where did Guam come from? You went from being fucking LA.
Sorry. So the thing is, I'm actually really originally born and raised in Guam.
Oh, okay.
So I went to high school there. And then 7 years ago, I launched a music festival back home in Guam through all my experience out here.
Wild.
Yeah, so that's been like our training ground of like just running a festival from out here. So that's been going on for 7 years
it's now. Still going on.
It's still going on.
Oh shit! Oh wow,
it's still going on. So I go to Guam 2 to 3 times a year.
That's awesome.
I have a team over there. Yeah, it's more on the commercial side of music.
Yeah.
We just had Worthy from Dirty Bird headline.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we booked him for our 3-year anniversary, I believe. Or we booked him this last year.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he came out to Guam, and we had a good time. And, we're going to continue our festival and kind of give something to the island. Yeah.
How is the scene out there? Because I know you're saying it's a little bit more of a commercial side, but...
Yeah, so the thing is, there's not much of a scene, honestly. I mean, the island is small. It's relatively small. It's only 260 square miles. So, there's only 150,000 people plus military and visiting tourists.
Lord.
Yeah, so, but people are aware of electronic music, mainly through EDC. And now that EDC, Tomorrowland, Ultra, they're all like in Korea, Japan.
Yeah.
It's
Mexico,
for sure. But it's mainly the festivals kind of hitting Asia that's kind of bringing more interest and explosion into the island as far as more people being involved and more DJs now. It was tough booking local DJs that played house music 7 years ago, but now, I mean, I can build a whole lineup.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. It's like it sounds like you guys were able to be the ones to bring your vision and your sound and what you want, let's say, this country that's not really familiar with the music to take from the music. Because it could be a collective that goes into Guam and does it with wrong intentions, does it for themselves, does it for the money, and they're ultimately going to fuck up the society over there because they're going to have a shitty understanding of what the house music is being represented by a collective. Right,
for sure. We introduced the whole plur vibe, peace, love, unity, respect, and, we tie that in saying, I can't help, but that's also the island culture. Like, if you ever visit Guam, it's all about peace, it's all about love, it's unity,
and
come check everybody
out the festival.
No, for sure.
Check it out.
It's every June.
Oh, okay.
The main one and whatnot. But yeah, it's been a great experience just kind of bringing that back and really bring that that energy, that positive attitude
Yeah.
into an island where they sometimes feel isolated. I mean, I grew up there. I understand how it feels.
Right.
So
Right. Totally.
yeah, it's totally awesome. Yeah.
That's good of you, man. I mean, again, speaking, since we're talking about like music and techno and the general understanding of EDM on a global scale, like how do you feel the current state of techno is as a genre, as a community culture, from both a global perspective, a local perspective, and a collective's perspective, which is your own?
Right, right. I think globally, we're starting to see that it's getting a lot of attention right now. All the DJs that we've been booking right now, they're saying that there has never been a better time as far as, they're busy, they're coming here playing good shows.
Yeah.
I definitely think due to that growth, you start to see a lot of, I guess, opinions, various opinions in terms of what is techno.
Right.
And
That's a
I
touchy
think
subject that a lot of these.
right. And I think the current state of it on a global level, and even to some extent a local level, is that there's a divide in a sense between, you're into drum code techno and I'm into Berghain techno, and it's, there's that divide, and it's inevitable. People are entitled to their opinions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I totally understand where both perspective is coming from, right? The one that's more into the underground, more obscure, they're saying that, hey, we've been around for this long.
Right.
It's always been and it's always been our thing before anybody gave a crap about it. And now you want to come in and do, again, it goes back to the mindset of like,
that's the entitlement. That's the ego. That's we've been doing this, like, all of a sudden you guys like techno.
Right.
Like, no, you don't understand it. Like, we've been doing this enough time or long enough to kind of know the real techno. And I don't even think that can really be defined.
Right, for sure. And, I don't want to beat that around the bush because it's, it actually is debatable, but at the end of the day, let's look at it from a bigger perspective, that this is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Because the more people that listen to drum code techno, which there are, there's a percentage of them that's going to want something more.
Right.
I mean, it's how it comes about, right, from EDM to Dirty Bird to drum code, and down. So I think if you start to look at that perspective, it's actually a good thing. And all the artists that we've booked, more so when I asked them about this, like, how do you feel about, this whole thing?
The expansion.
It's positive.
Yeah.
It's a positive thing. They're like, we're blessed.
Absolutely.
Like, we didn't tour like this 10, 15 years ago, and now we are, because of all the trickled effect. So I think, it's just a very personal, opinion, excuse, perhaps, right? Yeah. That entitled feeling of, I'm a better version of techno. So I think that's really where we are.
Techno, I like that, man. I mean, it is what it is. It's true. It's like, not to beat around the bush, but I mean, you and I both know that is something that's very prevalent in our society. And again, with the ever expanding popularity of dance music, I think the social media aspect of it has like steamrolled it. When you're saying like there's a snowball coming down the hill, there's a gust of wind, which is social media pushing it to really grow, because people see the lifestyle that these bigger artists or these techno artists are traveling, and they're playing in front of hundreds of thousands of people, and that's building the perception.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's part of growth, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are going to be those top 5% within the techno. I mean, I don't have to drop names, but I mean, it's inevitable, right? I mean, it's the same thing as really any industry, right? You're going to have your top performers or I guess brands that's just going to get the massive exposure, that's going to get the bigger contract deals, the better show fees. I mean, that's just part of an industry. It's part of business. I mean,
you have more buying power when you have more value. So when you're saying, hey, look at my social media following of millions of people that buy my tickets and come to shows, you can then ask for the higher booking rate, or you can be a little bit more exclusive with who you take your bookings with.
I mean, at the end of the day, attention is currency.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, I don't know how many people follow Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Yeah. But I mean, he talks about that, and it's just so true, right? I mean, people are so angry, so mad about this whole social media thing, but instead of being upset and mad about what it is, like, it's here.
It's here.
Everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you can comment all you want, all these things. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
Right? And I think back to your third question is then what is our position and what is our perspective from from our own individual brand is then there are always two ways to look at things, the positive and the negative.
Oh,
right?
with everything.
How do you feel about techno? It's going to shit right now because of all these things. Then there's the other view. Actually, okay, I may not believe in the music, or I'm not a big fan of what's going on, but I think I can at least say that, hey, this is actually a good thing for this music genre, for this music community. If we really want to have more full-time creative artists within our industry, this is what needs to happen. And at the end of the day, people are going to have their opinions, but I think as long as we know from our collective on what side that we're choosing, we're voicing out from the more positive end, from the more positive side, rather than going down the path of negativity and excuses, and that just creates, what does that do at the end, so
I mean, since you and I are not DJs, I think it's our job to kind of help enforce a community where people are going to be very opinionated and people do think left or right. I think it's our job as a collective to help steer the people in the right direction. So I mean, I love the fact that you guys are pushing the understanding and the why behind what direction people are choosing, and to just help help encompass the community, because that's key, because in a place where there's a lot of divide, like Los Angeles, in an industry where it's very cutthroat and you're either top dog or you feel like you're not, like, everybody can help. There's room for fucking everybody out here. There's enough people out here. There's enough music aficionados, there's enough people who love music, dance music, house music, techno, EDM, drum and bass, whatever genre of electronic dance music that you like. There is enough for everybody to share.
Yes, 100%. And I think it comes down to what mindset you have. Do you have an abundance mindset or a scarcity mindset? And I think, abundance mindset is what you just talked about right now. There's room for everyone still. Believe it or not, you just need to work a little harder, be a little bit more patient, and just understand that there is a process and journey that needs to go through. There's barriers that you have to break.
It's only going to help everyone to fucking work together. That's the thing that's always blown my mind, because we've been blessed enough to I guess be in a part of the time where everyone's kind of on the same page a little bit. Like, there's obviously going to be outliers where people are kind of have their own vision, but everyone is, I can see the community, and there's a few select people, like collectives and crews and individuals, that are really trying to nurture, that was what I was looking for, like, trying to nurture the community aspect of what we're doing.
For sure. And I think, it's not to say that everyone should work with one another, right? But I think everyone should have an open mindset of like, hey, we're open at least to
entertain the conversation.
Entertain the conversation if it ever gets brought up. And I think if everyone just has more of that mindset, I think amazing things can be done. I mean, we'll be able to build something better, I think, with more heads.
Of course.
With more creativity and more power. And I think it's happening all over in the merchandise world, and in even hip hop. I mean, look how many collaborations there are, and it's just, and you're starting to see, within our industry, all these interesting back-to-backs or collaborations on
collectives that work
on
together.
productions and whatnot. So, hopefully that is the trend that we're going to start to see, and I'm hoping that evolves.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with the collectives. Like, think about it this way: like, if you're a collective and you have your section of the demographic that everybody, like, that you reach out to, that people come to your events, they're your people, they come to your shows, they trust your brand, and then you work with another collective that has the same vision and the same idea for a community that has their people, and you bring those people together. Like, that's only going to help everybody.
Yeah, for sure. And that's our event brand Compound, where we work with, there's 4 promoters, combining into one, and these are the 4 that we've been working the closest with, and it kind of just happened naturally, and that is an evidence of, like, look what happens when we come together. I mean, it is a super rave.
Pretty much. You guys have Compound, you guys have Work, you guys have Grounded. That's
and then we have a festival in Guam, for us, it's about just creating extensions of brands that kind of has its own meaning behind it. 6 a.m. is always going to be the parent that kind of
the umbrella company over it. Exactly.
But I think through their original intent and purpose, each of the brands kind of carries a little bit of that symbolization of what we stand for.
Right. And you guys actually have a Grounded tonight.
Yes.
And the thing that I really like about the Grounded event that you guys have is, I was speaking with Modus, and he was telling me how it's, I think it was for the opening slot.
Yeah.
Instead of having an opening artist, you guys have a panel.
Yeah.
What is that about?
Yeah, so the panel is really just kind of be able to share stories, share perspectives. We do it as like an open Q&A. So
Right.
anybody from the industry, thinking on
That's
the mic,
wild.
like, Gia, how do I get booked to your party? And I will tell you,
Right.
when you got to do this X, Y, and Z, there's a process
Right.
to it. Like, you don't just show up and play.
Yeah.
Any questions you have, right? And I think this intention is because I've always had questions coming up and nobody was able to answer, and I had to
Right.
learn or find out the hard way
Right.
by doing all these X, Y, Z's, where you can just come here and, what makes Grounded is me, Josh, Steven Desario, Johnny, Patrick, who's a little bit younger as well. And
Yeah.
it's an interesting group because we don't different personalities, but we make up the community,
Right,
of
totally.
artists and industry professionals going through our own journey and kind of just really extending our arms to
Yeah.
say, hey, if you have any questions, issues, if you need guidance, we're here. But at the same time, too, it's a two-way street.
Right.
We could learn something from you
Absolutely.
as well. And I think we kind of just keep that as an open dialogue. Very excited for the Grounded project, to be honest, and it's been getting a lot of feedback, and we're meeting so many people from the community that's
Yeah.
going through their own journey, going through their own, battles and struggles, and we share our perspective, they share our stories, and I always leave it open as to how we can help each other.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, with the open Q&A, I think it's really helpful because, like you're saying, like people are obviously, let's say you're the one on stage that's answering everybody's questions about people who are kind of like looking to you guys for answers. They could ask you a question that's probably going to be way out of left field, and you're like,
Yeah.
I never thought to fucking ask
Exactly.
that. And then you guys have the dialogue back and forth, and then that's both of you kind of connecting.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and it's not to say that we have the answers. There are
No, of
some
course
questions
not.
where like I don't know. Hey,
Yeah.
that's a good question, but we may know someone that do
Yeah,
know.
we'll get
and-
back to you.
and we'll get
Yeah,
back to you. Hey, to
yeah.
follow up with me later on.
Yeah.
Another new project that I'm excited to share is next weekend, Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
We're launching Reform.
Nice.
Which is, it's a day into night into morning. It's
Oh, wow.
a 2-section party where the first part of it is happening during the daytime, a daytime techno party.
Is this the first announcement of it?
No, it's not. It's not. Yeah, it's
almost,
not, it's
you
not,
almost
no.
heard it here first.
We've been promoting it for like the
Okay.
last month and a half,
Right.
like on social media.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
our first time announcing it, via a podcast,
Right.
per se. But yeah, that's kind of our way of evolving.
Yeah.
Like you
Right,
said earlier,
right.
right? We're more, underground warehouse style and whatnot, and we really want to kind of bring it out to the limelight,
Yeah.
in a sense, and kind of do something different. I think Los Angeles really needs or deserves, a daytime
I like
techno
that,
party.
deserves.
We just recently did the Grand Park Sunday session as
Right,
well,
I saw
and that was really, really awesome. And it just shows that people will show up if you have, a good programming,
Yeah. Yeah.
and techno house music works in the daytime.
Yeah, the
Yes,
Sunday,
it does at night.
the Grand Park sessions, I love what they've been doing with it. That's a city-run event, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, they're just that alone, the fact that the city is willing to get behind house music, where originally they might have been thought of degenerates or they thought of been like troublemakers. Now they're kind of understanding the
For
culture.
sure, they're embracing it. I think
Yeah.
they're really understanding that it's become like a cultural hub.
Yeah.
The Grand Park Sunday sessions, it's been going on for a couple of years
Mhm,
now. So, it's always been house music, but I think now it's like they're really pushing it.
Yeah.
They're really, really, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think more cities, I have friends from other cities like, I wish our city can do it. Well, you should share this with your city council
Yeah.
and say, look, what
You got to
music
put in
can
the work.
bring.
You got to put in the fucking work. A lot of people
Exactly.
say, I wish our city had this. Okay, well, what are you doing to try to bring this to your city?
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of people they say like, oh, well, it's happening in LA, so why can't it happen here? It's you need to be the change you wish to see in the world.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Again, the idea and the vision that you guys have with continuing to be consistent and putting your heart in first is what's going to ultimately keep you guys head above everybody. So that's crazy impressive. With what do you think the future of sustaining clubs and music festival is? Because that's a very difficult, I think, area to navigate because there's so many, I guess, or there's so many that don't really have a spirit to them.
Right. I think, let's talk about club culture
Okay.
in general. I think the reason why clubs, have to do X, Y, and Z, all these crazy things, you hear about clubs that used to only book underground artists, but now all of a sudden they have to make money, so they have to change their program, do hip hop nights, all these things. And I feel like, in the future, like if a club owner really gives a shit about music, right, cares about creating, I guess, a culture, if you will, they have to understand that in order for their clubs to sustain, in order for them to kind of stay true to their original vision and intention, is to figure out ways to generate revenue outside of the club hours. I mean,
that can't be your bread and butter.
Right. Like you look at a venue and it's like they're only open, Wednesday to Saturday, from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. You're just like, well, then how about Monday, Tuesday? Like, and of course, they're bleeding money. It's just sitting there, dead real estate. Yeah, they use it for like special venue spaces and they rent it out. But I just feel like unless you're really, really well backed, the way to sustain. I mean, and I don't care how rich you are. Nobody likes to lose money.
No, of course not. The richer would rather not lose money even more so than anybody else.
Right, and I think what's going to happen, the future of clubbing format is that it's going to be more of like a brewery or a restaurant during the day and whatnot, and having a club that's kind of part of the whole venue.
Right.
So that way, I mean, if you think about it, if your establishment is making money throughout the day, being a restaurant, serving beer, alcohol, all that stuff. I mean, once you start programming the night, you don't have that pressure of like, I have to book someone that has 1 million followers.
That's going to make us this amount of money.
Right, to make us this amount of money. It's like you can actually then be creatively free to actually run a proper club night where you don't have to do it. Another, model club that I think everyone should follow is Basement New York right now. Okay. It's one of the newer clubs in Brooklyn and part of the scene as well. And just the reviews of that, I mean, it is a dark room. Yeah. And it just brings the vibe, and it's not a club. It's a club, but like you go in and people say it doesn't feel like a club, right?
That's tough. That's a tough thing.
So it's kind of like it's finding that balance. So it's about what kind of club you want to sustain. And I think for me, in this matter, it's really talking about how do we sustain an underground club culture, right? I mean, if you want to do commercial music, it will work by just booking whoever. But I think in this sense, how do we sustain an underground club? And I think it has to be something else, or else the original intent's always going to lose once you start like seeing the financial statements. We're losing a lot of money. We got to do something. I
mean, it's at that point it becomes high risk and very, very
exactly. And the idea of art just gets thrown out the window.
Because you just need to. It's all about the money. The thing that sucks though, that I think about the club culture and the people, because that idea in essence is great and it's accurate, but the people who are the owners of that aren't in the industry like we are. They own the venue and they're think of it as like a business venture. Sick, I'm gonna make money. Because I know house music is big with the kids right now. Like I'm gonna run this club. How can I make the most money? And I think that's the uphill battle where it's like it seems like the only fucking way that we can get them to think like we do is to show them, is to start our own.
I also think the future of club owners are going to be people that are truly passionate about the music. And I think that right now there are a lot of club owners that just don't really understand the culture aspect of it. And I think I'm hoping. I mean, this is my speculation, is that eventually these people with money that just want to open clubs are not going to get into this music. I think in order for something special to come out of this club culture through underground music, I believe it's that format that will keep it sustained. With festivals, I think it's about being boutique, being unique as well.
That's an interesting word. I like that.
I think these giant mega festivals like EDC, Tomorrowland, Ultra, I mean, Coachella. They're the top. Coachella, they're the top. And it's almost like they're untouchable. And I think if you really want to battle in that sense, either one, you have to own the market. And what I mean by that is that you have to be the only one in Salt Lake City that's doing this festival. Or Guam. or Guam, or middle of Virginia,
totally.
That's kind of like your only play. But even with that, I mean, do you know how much a festival lineup costs, right? I mean, are you going to be able to make it back? Does the market that you're trying to do this, And so I think it goes back to like, well, how do we then just increase the quality of the festival?
Right.
It's not about the numbers, but it's about really the experience. And being able to give people that true experience instead of this giant massive. And I think most people these days, with the ambition of launching a festival, I assume would go in with that approach as opposed to competing with an Insomniac or Live Nation or Golden Voice. And if they do, best wishes, but it's a tough road.
Yeah, I mean, they're in our scene and in our industry, the ones that I'm seeing that are not EDC Coachella, you have like the Dirty Birds and the Desert Hearts. Like those are the exact ones that I'm thinking of that have like borderline a cult following as far as the attendees and the people who are really behind their brand. And I think that's where it started, was the brand.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And I think it's more collectives are going to launch their own large-scale events.
Yep.
Dirty Bird, Desert Hearts,
Yeah, our friends at Subculture just started throwing festivals as well. I think that's the next.
Drum Code Festival, too.
Drum Code.
It's a real thing. Secret Project. And then Heart Nightclub in Miami, they're just launching Heart Festival. And, they have a pretty big line. I mean, Sasha and Digweed is playing with, So it's definitely that's where the festival realm is going.
Yeah. Do you think that makes it a little bit... It makes the road that much tougher for smaller collectives that are starting to come in? I mean, because if you're to start something now and you're trying to start a brand, it's fucking tough, dude, because there's so much that you have to try to... It's not so much like catch up, but you have to really bring something to the table that's either never been seen before, which is really tough because everybody's touching all bases right now. So do you think it's something that's going to make it that much tougher for like the smaller, not as funded collectives and crews to really hang in there?
I think now that it's 11 years since I've been actively in it, this thing has grown. I think when anything becomes this big, the level of entry, at least being able to make an impact becomes harder and harder. I mean, that's just inevitable.
Yeah, making an impact.
Right?
That's key.
And I think it's about you understanding what your brand stands for, or what you stand for into this, and being able to kind of carve your own unique version of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't have to say that, it has to be completely original, but I think the intention has to be good. And I think it's also understanding that there is a process that needs to go through. People really, really need to understand that because, everyone's always excited and ambitious and passionate in the beginning, but then once you go through the journey, there's a lot of things that happen that discourages you.
Yeah, you get burnt out sometimes too. I mean, we're in an industry where your late hours and hard work, if you want to be able to like be something and be someone and be a brand that people respect, it takes a lot of work. It's not something that comes easy.
And people have to be excited for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's pretty much going to the gym, working out is very hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing like the late nights, being focused, being out networking, then being alert at work on Monday.
Going there with intention.
Getting your shit together, and trying to break through. I mean, this industry's hard.
Yeah, man. It's hard and it's a dangerous world because it's one of those where if you go with no intention, if you go, let's say you're not trying to build a brand, you're not trying to do something, you can get caught in a very bad cycle, a very dangerous industry.
The velocity of success and failure, think about this, right? We'll talk about it from an artist perspective, okay? The success is you're a touring, world famous DJ. Right. The failure, it's not just not making it. You could be addicted to drugs.
Right.
And be an alcoholic. I mean, that's it's not.
That doesn't sleep for 3 days.
Forget about not making it. There's this whole dark side of dude, you didn't make it because you became an alcoholic, druggie. And that's dude, that's dark.
It's a spiral, man.
It's dark.
Yeah,
man.
it's a very scary industry for those who don't have any intention.
Yeah.
Like if you're not able to at least go for yourself, like if you're not a DJ, if you're not a promoter, if you're not someone that hosts parties, if you don't own a venue and you're going to enjoy the music, go there. Like you have to want to go there to enjoy the music, spend time with your friends, not necessarily go and I'm going to see how fucking hard I can go tonight.
Right.
How long are you going to be able to do that? And we're not getting any fucking younger.
Yeah, for sure. And that's not a sustainable thing.
No.
I think it goes back to my interview with John Digweed as well, too. He's saying that, everybody comes through this, there's a moment in time for them. And most of the people that really, the consumers is what I call the consumers of our parties, they're only looking for an escape, something they need.
Yeah.
And at some point, it's going to get it's going to get tiring and they're going to burn out and their time is done because they've already got what they needed from this.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
time for them to move on. Now, for those that are seeking a little bit more, being, wanting to be more involved, this is something we just have to be aware of, that people are going to come and go, and you have to find your purpose and intent and realize to not get caught up.
Right, absolutely.
Because that is the most fucked up, ending you can have, is that your intent was to try to contribute to the arts and creators, but then you end up being homeless and drug addict.
Yeah.
And it has happened in our industry.
And it continues to happen in our industry. I mean, there are people that I know that you see the entry into the world that we're a part of, and you see the spiral, and there's only so much you can do. I mean, I think now there's obviously been a little bit more awareness on mental health and self-care than there has been before, because now we're starting to see the effects of it. Because a lot of us, when we were going to EDC, Monster Massive, Beyond Wonderland, and all those early days when we were doing the hard drugs and doing it over an extended period of time, now we're starting to see the effects. Now we're starting to see people that are really affected by it.
Right.
And it's rough.
Right, exactly.
Because the intentions were never there. The intentions were just go, party, rage. When you were younger, which is fine. It's cool. We're getting into a new scene. We're getting into new music that we never did before. Our tastes weren't as good as they are now, because obviously, you have to go through the motions kind of thing. But it's tough, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think what I always tell people, anxiety, depression, I think a good way to begin is to just self-assess, right?
Yeah,
I mean, when was the last time you opened a bag of clothes, right?
Yeah.
When was the last time you did that? It's okay, well, last week, well, no wonder why you're feeling anxious and you have anxiety. It's just being aware and then taking the right actions to take care of yourself, because if you're really trying to do this for the long haul, I mean, the temptation.
Listen to this, man. Whoever is listening, listen to the goddamn, because this is actual experience from someone that's been doing this for 13, 11 years. Your experience, it does surpass a lot of, let's say, I mean, just for the sake of this podcast, a lot of people that are listening, I haven't been in the scene as much as you are. So it's to hear that from someone that's been doing this, it's not a joke. It's not something that's just a fucking talk, for sure.
I will say this, right? I mean, it's cool to be in this industry and try to be a DJ when you're 22. You're going to be 30 one day, and it's going to get sad when you're 40 and still trying to do the whole thing, right? So it's it's starting from a very happy place, but if you get lost in it and don't have your intent or your purpose lined up, I mean, 10 years go by fast.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody that's listening here, you can remember 10 years ago, right? Don't think that 10 years is a long time, because another 10 years is going to pass by very soon.
Right, yeah, and if you're not going with good intention for yourself, for your community, for your sound, for whatever it is that you're trying to push, you're going to be one grumpy ass fucking future 10 years from now.
You're going to end up being the people that comment on the worst techno, or on the worst techno meme on Facebook. Yeah, there's a group on there, and all they're doing is just bashing, just complaining, just negativity, and it just feels like they're all just people that still want to stay in there, but have completely given up on their own journey. And they're just bitter and just talking so much.
Yeah, keep them there. Stay in your fucking group. We don't need you out
techno,
here.
Meme group.
I'm not even gonna look at that fucking group. Well, look, man, there are gems of wisdom in this fucking podcast. I really appreciate your time. Is there anything else you wanted to shout out? Do you guys have something coming up? Where can everyone follow you, find you on social media?
Me personally at Jia 6 a.m. spelled JIA 6 a.m. That's across all social media, and obviously at 6 a.m. group, the number 6 a.m. group. We're posting, events, we're posting resources, anything that we can help that we think is valuable for the community. We push it out. And if you're around Labor Day weekend, or if you're not going to Burning Man, our first daytime boutique festival, techno festival Reform, is actually happening on Sunday at Evolve, and then at night we're doing the underground party.
Right. Yeah. Same location.
Aspect. We're gonna change as well. So the lineup is pretty slick. We got Robert Hood, Insulate, Demi Angelis, and then at night we have Perk, Adam Max. It's gonna be.
That's time. Well, thank you again for your time. I hope to work with you guys in the future. Thank you guys for tuning in. If anyone has any questions, you reach out to Jia. I'm sure you guys are open to the questions and to hearing from the community.
Yeah, for sure. When people usually DM us, especially on my own Instagram, I mean, I always respond. Any way I can.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you, man. Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Awesome. Thank you.